If there's one big thing that often separates the coaches who get clients from those who don't, it's the quality of their invitations. An invitation is what you put at the bottom of your social media posts. The part where you say, hey, if you're ready to work with me, here's what to do next. And if you don't have this piece locked in, you could be leaving thousands of dollars every month on the table. So keep watching because I'm about to show you how to write the perfect invitation so you can get coaching clients ASAP. Now, in just a few minutes, I'll break down the 5 biggest keys to writing powerful invitations that are gonna get you clients consistently. But before we get there, I wanna talk about the biggest key to success when it comes to making invitations, which is actually your mindset. Because the truth is you can have all the right strategies and know exactly what words to use, but if your mindset isn't right, none of this is gonna land and you're not actually gonna be able to get clients. So the biggest key to success when it comes to making invitations is you've gotta have an other-focused or service-focused mindset. I hear from a lot of coaches who say, Jason, I don't wanna tell people about what I do, or I'm afraid to talk about what I do because I don't wanna come off as salesy, I don't wanna be pushy, I don't wanna turn people off. And because of that, they don't actually make invitations. Or when they make invitations, they do what I call pitching on your heels, which is like when you have a really weak invitation, it's like, well, DM me to chat or something like that. It's not gonna get anybody to reach out to you. When you're thinking about what you do in this way, you're thinking about it from a very self-focused perspective. It's like, what are people gonna think of me? I don't wanna be pushy. But when you can start to shift that mindset and realize that your invitations actually are far more about other people than they are about you, that's really when it becomes much easier to actually show up and make powerful, bold, juicy invitations. As an example, there are so many people out there who want and need your help, and you have something that can help them. And it doesn't do them any good if you don't talk about it, right? So when you're thinking about these invitations, I want you to remember that this is you laying out a path to help somebody else get from where they are today to where they want to be. As an analogy, imagine you were walking through the desert and you had a backpack full of water bottles and you saw someone who was laying on the sand, completely exhausted, dehydrated, taking their last breath. It would be of service for you to go up to them and say, hey, I've got a backpack full of water bottles. Do you want a water bottle? This is exactly what your invitations are. To the right person, the person who really needs help, the person who has a problem that you can solve, your invitations are like music to their ears. Because when people see that there's a clear path to help them go from where they are today to where they want to be, that's an amazing thing. That's something that they're going to be excited about. So just remember, when you are making invitations, remember that this is not fundamentally about you getting a client. This is far more about you showing up in the heart of service, laying out the path for somebody else to get something that they really want. And when you can ground into this energy and this mindset, it makes it so much easier to show up unapologetically, to be able to talk about what you do in a bold, powerful way, and ultimately to sign a lot more clients as a result. So now that you've got the mindset for success in place, the next thing I want to talk about is the 5 keys to making powerful invitations. So when it comes to making an invitation that's actually going to get someone to reach out to you and say, hey, I want to work with you. What are the next steps? There are 5 keys to success. I want to talk about those now. Number 1 is the biggest thing that really great invitations do. One of the biggest things is that they qualify. So you need to make it very clear every time you make an invitation, who this invitation is for, and also who it's not for. I see a lot of coaches make invitations out there and it's like they talk about their program or they talk about what they do, or they make some invitation like DM me to chat, but I'm not clear reading that, well, is this for me? But when you can say to someone, hey, if you're a coach who's in the early stages of your journey, you're just getting started with your business, you haven't signed your first client yet, or maybe you're making less than $5K a month. If you can qualify people, hey, if you're someone who's in a relationship and you feel like you're lacking that intimacy and connection that you used to have when you first started dating, this is an example of a qualifying statement, right? If you are this. And you can also say, this is not for the person who X, Y, Z. This is not for someone who's just looking for a quick fix. This is not for someone who, isn't ready to invest in themselves, right? So you can qualify both positively, talking about, who this is for, and also negatively, who is this not for? And when you do a really good job qualifying in your invitations, what you do is you make it super clear to other people who this is for. And when the right person reads that, there's a sense of, wow, you're speaking directly to me, which is going to make it much more likely that they actually do the thing that you want them to do. So step number 1, the first big key to success is you got to make sure that every invitation you make does a good job qualifying people. And that's a huge key to success. Second key to success is to describe the A to B. So whenever you're making an invitation to somebody else, you have to remember people don't want to book a call. People don't want to watch a training. People don't want to chat with you. People don't want to DM you. Those are all things that they're not particularly concerned with. Like, nobody wants to waste their time doing those things. What they want is the outcome of those things. In other words, I don't want to sign up for a coaching program. What I want is to hit 10K months in my coaching business. This coaching program is going to help me get there. Then that's great, right? Because I can see how that stepping stone is a means to an end to get me to where I want to be. So really, the reason why people do anything is because they feel like that thing is going to take them closer to something that they really want. And when I teach this, I describe this as the A to B transformation, right? So every action that somebody takes in life, it's because they are at a current place in their life, we could call that point A, and they want to be somewhere else, point B, and they feel like that action is going to take them from A to B. As an example, when you're hungry, you could say that's the point A. You go to the fridge and you grab some food to get to point B, which is feeling full and feeling satisfied, right? So whenever you're pitching a next step or whenever you're pitching something, it's very important that we focus on what is that A to B. In other words, I might say in my invitation, hey, if you're a coach who is in the early stages of your business, you're just getting started, you haven't signed your first client yet, and you want to get on track to hitting 10K months and waking up every day and being able to coach full time and having the freedom that comes from being your own boss and working for yourself and being able to work from anywhere in the world, then this is for you. Right? So we talked about the A to B in that scenario. A is this person just getting started, they don't have their first client, and B is making 10K a month, having freedom, being able to go full time as a coach. That is the A to B. So whenever you are making invitations, you want to make sure that you're talking about what that A to B is. You know, what is that next step going to take them to? How is this going to be a path towards what they really want? And when you can do this well, what you do is you make something much more attractive to people. Because remember, people don't want to talk to you. They don't want to book calls. They don't want a discovery call. They don't want freak trainings. Nobody cares about that stuff. But when you can tie in to the desires and the goals and the dreams and the vision of your ideal clients and help them see how this thing that you're asking them to do is a means to that end, they're going to be much more likely to take that next step. And the third key to success when it comes to making invitations is to describe the solution. This is where you kind of briefly talk about what the thing is that they're actually being invited to. You have to kind of mention, like, if it's your coaching program or if it's a call, like, you have to kind of say that somewhere. I don't spend a lot of time talking about what the thing actually is in my invitations. It's going back to what we just talked about. People don't really care about the step in the middle to get to where they really want to be. What they ultimately care about is getting to where they really want to be. So I spend, 70, 80% of my time in my invitations talking about what is the A to B, and maybe 20% of my time talking about, my coaching program or the call or whatever that specific next step is. In this case, you have to mention that, but we want to keep it kind of brief. We want to focus mostly on what they really want. And when you do share what you do, make it juicy, make it sound exciting. So don't make it sound like it's this boring thing. Make it sound like something that's really awesome, something that they're going to really want. So we can kind of position what you do in a way that helps them see either how this is unique from maybe other options out there, or, provide some, really juicy features, things that they're going to really want. Maybe that's, one-on-one support with you, or more, connection or intimacy with you, or a community of other people who are on the same journey as them. Really figuring out, like, what are the most compelling parts of my solution, whatever I'm kind of pitching or asking somebody to kind of join or be a part of, and framing what you do in a way that helps somebody see that, but also keeping this kind of brief and kind of short. So we don't want to spend a whole lot of time, getting into the weeds and the details of all the features of your program and how it all works. Whenever you drag somebody into the weeds, talking, about what you do, you take them out of seeing the big picture. And what we really want is to help somebody see how this thing, whatever it is that you're inviting them to, is a means to an end, right? It's a means to help them get from where they are today to where they want to be. So keep this short, mention it kind of briefly, and then, move on, and we can talk about some of the other parts of a compelling invitation. Okay, so at this point, you've qualified who this invitation is for. You've described the A to B, so you've connected them to something that they really want. And you've also talked about what's in the middle, very briefly talking about that solution or that thing that you're offering to help them get from A to B. The next thing is you got to tell them to take a next step in order to get that. So really inviting them to take one clear, defined action step. A couple of tips here. A lot of things I see, from coaches who are making invitations that don't really work that well. The first thing is just like a vague next step, like reach out to me to chat. What does reach out mean? There are a million different ways I could reach out to you, right? Whenever you make things kind of vague and unclear in terms of what that step is, you're gonna lose people. Versus if you were say, DM me the word clients right now, or click the link in the comments down below and submit an application right now, that's very clear and directive, right? So there's no guessing what I'm being asked to do when I read that. Those next steps are always gonna be much more powerful. The other thing you wanna avoid is inviting someone to take more than one step. So sometimes I'll see people who are like, well, you could email me here, or you could also DM me here. It's like 3 different ways to reach me. You don't want to do that. Whenever you give people options, you're going to make them more and more confused, and they've got to select between all the different things and figure out what to do. Make it simple for people. So just give them one specific action step, one specific thing to do. In terms of where you send people and what action step you invite them to, my rule of thumb is I always want to remove as much friction as possible. So what's the easiest thing that someone can do depending on the context that they're currently existing in? Like if they're on Instagram, you probably want to invite them to DM you on Instagram, because it's really easy to just send somebody a DM on Instagram if you're already on Instagram, versus if you invite somebody on Instagram to send you an email, it's like a pain in the butt. They got to go over to their email app and copy and paste your email in, and it takes 20 steps to do that. The more friction you can remove from the process of actually reaching out to you or taking that next step, the more likely people are actually going to follow through and really do it. So those are some keys to success when it comes to that clear action step. The most important thing is that you have a clear action step in every invitation, making sure that you're being very directive and specific about what you want them to do next. Now, speaking of action steps, before I share the last key to success here, if you're a coach who wants a roadmap that you can follow to help you get on track to sign 2, 3, or 4 high-paying coaching clients month after month, I put together a free client attraction guide that walks through the roadmap I've shared with thousands of coaches to help them do this. It's completely free. It's really good stuff. I'd love to share this with you. And if you want to get free access to this, you can just click the link above or in the description down below to download that free client attraction guide right now. And finally, the 5th key to success when it comes to making invitations is to share what happens next. So after somebody takes that next step, that action step that you just invited them to, tell them what to expect after that. How are things going to unfold? This creates a feeling of certainty and safety, and also alleviates any potential objections or anxiety or tension that might hold somebody back from taking that next step. So what are maybe the concerns that they might have? For example, if I submit this application, is somebody just going to reach out to me and try to, push me into buying something that I'm not ready for? So maybe you could say something like, well, after you submit this application, I'm going to reach out to you personally, and we'll have a no pressure chat and explore, what's really best for you, even if that means sending you somewhere else, right? We're clarifying what happens next. We're alleviating that anxiety or that tension, and we're really creating that safety so somebody feels like, okay, I can feel safe taking this next step. I'm not going to be put in a position that I don't want to be in. And so there's really nothing holding me back from actually doing what this person is asking me to do. So bringing this all together, I wanted to share an example of an invitation that I think does all of this well, integrates those 5 keys that we just talked about. So as you're listening to this, I want you to see if you can point out each of the 5 things that we just talked about, right? So take a listen and see if you can do that. If you're a new coach feeling overwhelmed with marketing, struggling to sign your first paying client, and you're ready to get clarity on the exact next steps you need to take to get on track to 8 to 10K months, replace your 9-to-5 income, and go full time, Coaching Launchpad was built for you. Inside our flagship group coaching program, you'll find world-class training, proven mentorship, and personalized guidance that will help you avoid the biggest pitfalls that keep new coaches stuck and put you on the fast track to signing high-paying clients consistently. Ready to join us? Click the link in the comments below and submit an application now. I'll review your application personally and reach out to you within 24 hours with your best next steps, even if that means pointing you somewhere else. So hopefully you should be able to see all the pieces that we just talked about in that invitation, right? So we qualify right in the beginning. If you're a new coach who's feeling overwhelmed with marketing, we're specifically calling out that person that we're looking for. And then in the next line, we talk about the B. Are you ready to get clarity on the exact next steps you need to take to get on track to 8 to 10K months, replace your income, go full time. So we're talking about that A to B transformation, really talking about that desire. And then in the next section, we talk about the solution, right? So we describe what the thing actually is. In this case, it's our flagship mentorship program. And specifically in that, we really talk about the benefits for this person. So we don't just say, hey, here's world-class training. We say this training is gonna help you avoid the biggest pitfalls that keep new coaches stuck and put you on the fast track to signing high-paying clients. So we're talking about the value or the benefit or the outcome for this person, right? Not just talking about, well, this is world-class training. Well, who cares about world-class training? If this is gonna help me sign clients, that's a completely different positioning. I'm gonna be much more likely to be engaged with that if I'm a coach who really wants that. So making sure when you are talking about what you do that you're always connecting those dots and helping somebody see, here's how this thing that we have is going to be beneficial for you. And then in the next line, we talk about that action step, right? Click the link in the comments below, submit an application now. So very clear, specific directive. And then finally, that last line, here's what's gonna happen next, and really alleviating that anxiety that someone might feel around that sales pressure through saying, hey, if you're not a good fit, we're gonna point you somewhere else. So making somebody feel safe in taking that next step. So that's an example of integrating all of these 5 keys to making powerful invitations. Of course, this is stuff that you're gonna practice and apply over time. And you're not gonna be perfect at any of these things at first. It's taken me a long time to get really good at this. And also depending on the medium and the format, you might need to kind of adjust things here. Like this is a pretty long invitation for certain types of content. Maybe you can go a little shorter. Other types of content, like when I'm doing master classes or lives, you have a lot more room to be able to actually expand things. You can really go into the details, really qualify on a deeper level, talk about who this is not for, really talk more deeply about the solution that you're offering. So of course, you're gonna have to modify this depending on the format, but this should give you some broad principles to follow when it comes to making invitations that are really gonna be successful and actually get you coaching clients. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you're a coach who wants a roadmap that you can follow to help you get on track to signing 2, 3, 4, or more high-paying coaching clients month after month, I put together a free client attraction guide that walks through the roadmap that I use to help coaches do this. This is something I've shared with thousands of coaches. Some of our best clients have applied this same process and gotten incredible results. I'd love to share this with you too. You can get it completely free. You can just click the link above or in the description down below to go check that out now. And if you enjoyed this video, you're gonna love this next one too. So click the link on the screen to go check that out, and I'll see you in the next video.